Peter Bell, General Partner at Highland Capital. Welcome to TechCrunch TV.
It's great to be here, Andrew.
Peter, we are at the Fast Company Innovation Uncensored event in San Francisco. Are you in favor of censoring innovation?
Absolutely not. I think innovation...
Doesn't that put you out of business then?
As a venture capitalist?
Yeah.
No, I think it helps our business. Because, if you're going to censor it, you're going to stifle it. That's what censorship means to me, is stifling ideas, stifling thought, stifling collaboration. And I think what's been exciting the last 5 years of investing is all the collaboration, social media, whole new commerce models. So I think censorship would be devastating to entrepreneurship and to venture capital.
What is your take on innovation? Is it the key thing you look at when you meet entrepreneurs, whether they are innovators naturally and whether they're innovating markets?
I think innovation is a big part of what we look at. I mean, in terms of how big is the idea, what is really the enduring quality of the idea, what's the impact that idea can make. I think that's a big part of it, but I think it's also about what is special about the entrepreneur. Can they actually take this innovation, take this idea, and scale a business that endures? Have the leadership, can they hire well? What's their sort of the value they want to build in terms of the employees they're going to bring on. So I think there's a lot more than just the idea and just innovation, but that's a big part of it.
Ron Conway was on this show a few months ago, and he famously said that entrepreneurs or innovators are born and not made. Is that your position as well?
I'm not sure I don't think it's that black and white. I think there's an element to, that they are born with certain types of attributes or skills, but I think there are things that happen in their lives. When you learn about someone, how they grew up, and the situations they were in, I think it's more than just, you were born with it. Maybe you were born with the gene, but that gene had to morph and that gene had to be developed over time, and that's around your parents, that's around your schools, that's around things you might have done in sports or started businesses in school. There's a lot of things you can learn about a person other than just sort of the birthright that I think makes a great entrepreneur.
Peter, where are we in the social cycle?
You mean around like social media or?
Well, around all these companies that are claiming to be social. Have you had enough of social pitches yet? Do you throw them out the door if you hear the word social?
Yeah, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of crap, but it is actually a fundamental change in how we interact. So I don't think I think we're actually in the, maybe to use an analogy, we're in the second inning of a 9-inning game.
Only the second inning?
Yeah, I think we're in the second inning. I mean, obviously,
top or bottom
Facebook
of the second?
What's that?
Top or bottom?
Probably the top of the second. We're just starting. I mean, I think, Facebook is a juggernaut, but there's a lot happening. I mean, you heard today at the conference, you had Cisco, the CTO, talking about kind of social media is the business, right? And these are Cisco, they sell routers. But it's how is your workforce going to be deployed? How are you going to interact with your customers, your partners, your suppliers? There's a lot happening. I look at, as much as we do a lot in the consumer internet, we're doing a lot in the enterprise. And the enterprise is really behind. They're not even in spring training yet. So I think there's a huge opportunity.
Even with Yammer and these other
These are not huge companies yet. I mean, I think these are early companies, but there's no, I'll call it juggernaut of sort of social media in the enterprise. So I think there's big opportunities there. I think, I see how my children interact in terms of Facebook, gaming, taking sort of game mechanics into how we're going to do payments, as you just heard from Seth, from Scavenger. I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's still quite early. And I think one of the big opportunities is really the businesses and how they're wrestling with what do we do. They're almost sort of a deer in headlights. So for me as a venture capitalist and for the entrepreneurs here, I think there's big opportunities.
You describe Facebook as a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Juggernauts are usually unstoppable. Is Facebook unstoppable?
Well, usually things don't last forever, right? I mean, I don't know the stats.
Nothing ever lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever. So, but I think they're unstoppable in the short term. I mean, just with, 800, approaching 800 million users. I mean, it's just, they're a machine. And, the engagement they have. I mean, it's a pretty unique company, but I think there's a lot of ways to innovate on top of this Facebook platform. And we're seeing a lot of interesting companies emerge in the social spam space and the privacy space that are leveraging Facebook, but providing a new context for how you and I are going to engage on Facebook. And I think there's also opportunities in business, how they think about Facebook and kind of how they brand themselves, how they run campaigns, and how they increase engagement for their products or services. So I think there's, it is a juggernaut, but it's a juggernaut that I think creates new opportunities for new businesses.
But if Facebook is, as you say, a kind of an operating system or platform for the social web, doesn't that worry you a little bit? Doesn't it give them a bit too much power?
But in every cycle in business, there's always one or two companies that dominate, and then new companies are created off that. I mean, in the computer, you had IBM as the dominating company, and then you had Cisco and Oracle and EMC and Sun and a bunch of really cool companies in different layers of the stack. I think you're going to see companies in different layers of the social web emerge. Doesn't mean Facebook will go away, but I think there's going to be new important companies created off that Facebook ecosystem.
Peter, can Google compete in social?
They're trying, I think they'll...
that sounds to me like a rather negative response.
I mean, Google's an impressive company. I think they're behind. Clearly, they've got, an incredible business, a cash cow. They've got a lot of smart people, so I wouldn't put it past them. But I think, it's going to take some time, and they've got to figure out what is really going to be special about their approach. I don't think it can just be, hey, a little bit of a tweak on Facebook. I think it's got to be something, going back to your innovation question, I think it's got to be something with real compelling innovation.
Peter, you're based in Menlo Park, but Highland, of course, is based in Boston. What was your response to Mark Zuckerberg's comment a couple of weeks ago that if he was founding Facebook again, he would have done it in Boston?
Yeah, well, I read the whole article, and then at the end he said, but I'm not sure it would have worked in Boston.
Oh, so he was misquoted.
I think they took part of the context. I mean, we actually about half our team in Boston now and half our team in California. We also are expanding in Europe and in Asia. So we don't look at it as sort of Boston-centric or the Valley-centric. I think it's entrepreneur-centric. But Boston is still a great place. We just moved our Boston office from Lexington in the suburbs into Cambridge, right in Kendall Square by MIT. So we're seeing some great companies in the Boston area. We're doing a lot in New York, and obviously a lot going on out here. So I think it's an exciting time around the country and around the world for entrepreneurship.
Last week there was a big controversy, Mike Arrington and CNN, about race and startups. Debate about why there are so few African American entrepreneurs, particularly in Silicon Valley. Do you have any sense on that argument?
I didn't see the article that you're referring to. It is interesting. I haven't given it a lot of thought. I think what you have in the Valley, if you look at, I just think about the entrepreneurs in any week that we see. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, they come from all different backgrounds.
Do you think the Valley is a natural meritocracy?
Total. It is total. I mean, they don't care how old you are, how young you are. They don't care. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of kids from Stanford starting great companies, but there's people out here that come from schools in the East Coast. They come from schools in Europe, schools in India, schools in Asia, schools in Africa. So I don't see it. I see this is a place that, it's sort of people talk about a bubble in the economy, maybe out here because the tech is a bit, kind of fragmented from maybe what's happening in the rest of the world. But I think the reality, what's really special about the Valley is the optimism that no matter where you come from, you can start a company, you can join a startup, you can change the world. And I think that's what makes the Valley quite special.
Well, Peter, you've asked a couple of tricky questions. So to reward you, finally, tell me the three companies that Highland are involved with that you're most excited with, personally or as an institution.
Yeah, I think the three I'm most excited about is Scavenger, which I think we heard today. I've known Seth. I met Seth when he was a freshman at Princeton, and they have built a really awesome business around engaging, brands engaging.
Is it a $50 billion business?
I think it has the potential to be a very large business. $50 billion would be a great number. I think a second one that
is $50 billion cool? Say it.
$50 billion is very cool. I think another company we're really excited about is a company in New York City called Rent the Runway, which is really providing an awesome, really platform. It's a Netflix business model, but really for women's apparel. And the consumers love the company and love the product. We're very excited about it. The company's growing quite nicely.
I hope they don't change their pricing.
What's that? Well, now I hope they don't do. Yeah, Netflix has had some recent, I call it snafus on the pricing, but Rent the Runway is a great business we're very excited about. And I think another one we're quite excited about out here in the Valley is a company called WePay, which is based in Palo Alto. And they're really building a platform so it makes it much easier for you or I to collect money online. So they're selling into universities, into fraternities, into nonprofits, and it's really I'll call it a much easier version of PayPal. And the company's growing quite nicely, hiring some great engineers. So we're excited because it's a big horizontal global market, and the payment space is sort of getting turned on its knees.
Well, Peter Bell, General Partner, Highland Capital, I want to thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you, Andrew.
And best of luck with all your investments.
Okay, thank you very much.